Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation, whom I call Yashar'al, a name that was originally and commonly known by many, I shouldn't say originally, commonly known as Jacob, whose name was actually Yaakov. The name was changed from Yaakov to Yashar'al, but most people might say from Jacob to Israel. These words are to those who I believe are drawn, not necessarily whether I believe it or not, but I'm compelled to believe that are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha Mashiach, His Word. Yahusha represents the name of His Word, represents Yahuwah's Word to us. With that said, before I get into this message, this warning, I want to say that the views expressed in these words do not necessarily reflect the owners, managers, shareholders, and or their sponsors. With that said, let's get started. The topic of this message is Fractured Flee Doctrine. And I have warning on 4 sides here saying warning. But before I get into that, I want to say this, Yashar'al. I am not insensitive to brothers and sisters who are trying to find the truth. I am naive that some are overeager and over anxious. Some are influenced by others pushing them. There's a lot of confusion about what is true and what we should be doing, but we seem to agree on much regarding that end times are here. We seem to not dispute that there will be earthquake in diverse places, wars, famine, pestilence, disease, and the things that are written in Matthew 24th chapter, and throughout the scripture about the ones that speak on end times. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, I also want you to know this. Keep in mind that Yahusha told Peter to get thee behind me, Satan, because the action was wicked. Peter is yet our brother, or Kepha, as some will know. So when I say something is wicked, in some instances, it's not saying that the brother or the sister is a wicked person. It may be describing, in some cases I would be describing brothers and sisters that's overeager, good intentions, over anxious, but a little bit weak when it comes to discerning what is true. Yashar'al, hear me out. And I need your patience as I go through this message. I pray that you listen to it from beginning to end. Some will dive off of it because they say it gives me a topic to talk about. Some will just get enough of it for them to say, oh, I can work with that. And there are those who are sincerely seeking the truth that will listen. But some will think that I've heard enough. He's being redundant. You might miss out on something, my brothers and sisters, if you cut this video off prematurely. But I am confident that Isaiah 55:11 will have its place, that the words of Yahuah will not return to him void, and the words from Yahuah, through his set-apart spirit sent in Yahusha's name, will indeed accomplish the task it is designed to. Fractured Flee Doctrine. Let me read the word fractured. So fractured defined. Here's 3 different definitions of fractured. Hear me out, my brothers and sisters. The act or process of breaking or the state of being broken. Having a crack or break, damaged or destroyed. I will state the case, my brothers and sisters, regarding why I believe we have those who promote a fractured flee doctrine. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe it's wise to assist the enemy, the wicked one, Satan? Well, if we do something contrary to what is right, what is true, what is set apart, we're helping the enemy. Some intentionally and some not knowingly, because they have not prayed to discern and examine the matters thoroughly before they speak out. Let me say something to you, O Yashar'al. I want to give an analogy. Some may learn by analogy, some may not. If you look at the size of the palm of your hand and you had 10 golf balls, your hands would be full. If you look at the size of your body and you had 10 golf balls, you can scatter them throughout the footprint of your body. Do you agree? Or if I use the analogy of a plate, if you had a small, let's say 9-inch plate, and you had 50 marbles, and let's say you want to spread them out, and you compared 50 marbles sitting on a 9-inch plate to 50 marbles in a child-sized wading pool, would you not be able to scatter the marbles out more broadly? Hold that thought. The scriptures talk about a time of times of fleeing, times of gathering. The scriptures talk about, come out of her, my people. I would submit to you, my brothers and sisters, there are those who are undiscerning, impatient, or overzealous that would rather just emphasize come out of the United States saying it is Babylon, because we're not seeking to discern true Babylon. Mystery Babylon is the entire wicked nation, the one world wicked nation. And Yashar'al is a set-apart nation, thus two nations battling against one another. Thus, as it was said, when Yaakov and Esau were born, two nations fighting. Wickedness versus set-apartness. My brothers and sisters, anyone who is over anxious that I've witnessed to be impatient and undiscerning are saying, instead of saying we will return one day to the promised land, or the final exodus, or this great exodus will be in the borders of the promised land, there's uncertainty among us. Some believe that the promised land is South Central Africa, notwithstanding that Yahuah scattered us. So if he scattered us, we wouldn't have been in South Central Africa if that was the promised land all this time. It would have been a scattering. If the fruit of our rebellion brings famine, pestilence, and desolation, it makes sense that the borders between the Euphrates and the Nile for many years have been desolate in many places. Many fail to acknowledge that. Since there is division on where we will be gathered, there are those who, instead of promoting the final exodus or the greater exodus, there are those who just say, flee Babylon. And they identify the U.S. as Babylon, and they started, first they were saying South Central Africa, many of them. Now they just say the continent, the continent. Africa has 54 countries, so that we are told. In most recent years, we have discovered that the continent of Africa is much greater in size than we realize. So if you're telling people to just get out of the United States, to get out of Babylon because it's going to be destroyed, not knowing that the scriptures describe global destruction, earthquakes, famine, and pestilence. So if you're telling people to flee Babylon, you must be able to identify Babylon. There are people that are telling you anywhere but the United States. But if Babylon is wicked nations, keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, Africa is also filled with Hamites. The promised land was given to Hebrews, Yashar'al, descendants of Yaakov, not the Hamites. The world resents us in many ways, shapes, and forms. Some of it is because we are the chosen children of Yahuah. Notwithstanding that Yahuah draws Hebrews and Gentiles. Yes, there are sojourners. There are Hebrews and Gentiles that are made one under the umbrella of Yashar'al by the drawing power of Yahuah. And as we are awakened to the truth, both Hebrews and Gentiles, we will witness a great multitude coming together, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter. The Fractured Flee Doctrine, if you have so many Hebrews in the United States, and it's much smaller than the continent of Africa, and you're encouraging people to be scattered throughout Africa, that's like the marbles in the kiddie pool compared to a saucer. Now you're telling people go anywhere on the continent. That's scattering us more. That's dividing us more. That's giving in to the wicked and wild actions of the enemy. To play itself safe, quote unquote, to avoid trying to seek to discern where the promised land is lazy, slowful, and to bring a false narrative is wicked. The Flee Doctrine narrative have origins from scriptures. Look for those who use these words to influence you. Know who are your people, and know what is your land, Yashar'al. Come with me as I read some scriptures to you. In Isaiah chapter 13, verse 14, it said, "And it shall be as the hunted gazelle, and as a sheep that no man takes up, every man turns to his own people, and everyone flees to his own land." If you flee into the continent and saying that's my land, and that's not within the borders of the Euphrates and the Great Nile from east to west, then you're fleeing to a land that's not your own. And so there are questions that should be answered. Let me continue. Jeremiah 50, verse 8 say, "Flee from the midst of Babel. Come out of the land of the Kasdim, and be as rams before a flock, not silos, not a family of two in Ghana, maybe 10 in Israel, maybe 20 or 100 or 20,000 in Kenya, some in Malawi or Tanzania, or South Central Africa, or Libya. You see, O Yashar'al, as a flock before a flock." Let me continue. Jeremiah 51:6 says, "Flee from the midst of Babel, and let each one save his life. Do not be cut off in her crookedness, for this is the time of vengeance of Yahuah, the recompense he is repaying her." Yashar'al, more on where people are getting the influence of come away or flee from Scripture. In Isaiah 48:20, it reads, "Come out of Babel, flee from the Kasdim. Declare this with a voice of singing. Proclaim it. Send it out to the ends of the earth. Say Yahuah has redeemed his servant Yaakov." Let me continue. Move to Isaiah 52, verses 10 through 12. And it reads, "Yahuah say, lay bare his set-apart arm in the eyes of all the nations. And all the ends of the earth shall see the deliverance of the Almighty One. Turn aside, come out from there, touch not the unclean, come out of her midst, be clean, you who bear the vessels of Yahuah. For you shall not come out in haste." Notice it said, "You shall not come out in haste, nor go in flight. For Yahuah is going before you, and the Almighty One of Yashar'al is your rear guard." My brothers, my sisters, hear these words. patiently pray and seek to discern what they are saying. More on come away or come out. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 through 18 reads, "Do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness and lawlessness? And what fellowship has light with darkness?" When we just start fleeing on our own and taking our own family and thinking the scripture is just talking about seek to save your own life, that's wrong. There are people who read you part of scriptures and say, see, it say come out. He's even reading where it say come out and flee Babylon. But there's a time and a season for it. There's a time when Yashar'al will prepare our minds to flee or to come out. And there are ways and means in which he will guide us as a flock, as a nation. It says here, and what agreement has Messiah with Belial, or Baal? Or what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? And what union has the dwelling place of the Almighty One with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Almighty One, as the Almighty One has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Almighty One, and they shall be my people. Therefore come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuah, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says Yahuah, the Almighty. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. The flee doctrine, come away messages. They'll point to the scripture and say, that's what it says. Some have even gotten so bold as to say, I'm just doing what the Lord told me or what Yah told me. I'm just following the Ruach's orders. I'm pointing to you. That's what the scripture says. So many people take a verse, 2 verses, 3 verses, or even 10 verses, not seeking to discern the ways of Yahuah. I submit to you to flee and to come out of her. In most cases, my brothers and sisters, is to prepare our minds, body, and soul as he gather us to move collectively as a flock, as a set-apart nation. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. I've heard some saying I'm going to the continent, and so many different countries have been mentioned, not knowing what their rights would be like, how they would be governed. I heard some say, I'm going to get me a piece of land, it's cheap, but not knowing in some countries they don't allow you to buy it right out. You have to lease it for many years. Granted, it could be 50 years with renewables, but the country maintains ownership of the land in some countries. The rights. Some people are unaware that the natives in these countries, many of them resent Hebrews, or they'll say they resent African Americans or Negroes. They resent us, O Yashar'al. There are some, and you can search this on YouTube, there are some who are trying to get out of these countries because they made a mistake. And there are others that's trying to lure people to the countries. For decades, I've even met a person by voice in texting who stay in Israel. And when I asked them about what is the surroundings like, how many Hebrews are in his community or neighborhood, he made the response, 2 or 3, might be 4. So he had, quote unquote, moved to the suburbs. And he's encouraging other Hebrews to come to Israel. And there are schemes that people use, say, we can help you get a visa, and there are ways we can help you get into the country. The Almighty Father is not going to gather us to sneak into a little strip of land just to be there and say we're home. It's not going to happen that way. And I asked this brother, I said, well, where are some of the other Hebrews? He said, well, there's a large camp in Dimona. And when I researched Dimona, there are testimonies of the challenges and battles in Dimona. In some cases, they say either in Dimona or what's in the surrounding area, area, that it is a nuclear waste site. That's why Israel don't bother them too much. Now, how factual that is, I don't know. I spoke to some via internet, and some have even told you how many have died of cancer because of the fallout in the area. So all is not what it seems to be. And then some have left the Mona and scattered to other different parts of Israel. Now let me ask you, my brothers and sisters, do you think continually being scattered and scattered even more, just going to anywhere in the continent, quote unquote, do you really believe that that's what the Almighty Father is ordering of us? No, it's not. Come away from that wickedness. Some of you have spent or are beginning to think about spending your money and getting to the continent, and that would be your all, and you'll find out that you may lose all that you've put into it. Beware, O Yashar'al, the final exodus is coming. It will be whether one call it fleeing or coming away. That was the first exodus. Let me read a portion of information regarding the first exodus, my brothers and sisters. Come with me to Exodus 12:36 through 41. 12:36 through 41. It says, and Yahuah gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mizraites, so that they gave them what they asked, and they plundered the Mizraites. And the children of Yashar'al set out from Ramsey to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot besides the little ones. And a mixed multitude went up with them too, also flocks and herds, very much livestock. And they baked unleavened cakes of dough, which they had brought out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, since they were driven out of Mitzrayim, and had not been able to delay, nor had they prepared food for themselves. And the sojourn of the children of Yashar'al, who lived in Mitzrayim, was 430 years. And it came to be at the end of 430 years, on that same day, it came to be that all the divisions of Yashar'al went out from the land of Mitzrayim. It didn't say 5 or 10 here, 50 there. All the divisions of Yashar'al went out. My brothers and sisters, we were scattered because of our disobedience. But the Almighty Father promises to regather, to gather his children. Let me read this, O Yashar'al. Come with me to Leviticus 26th chapter. Leviticus chapter 26, verses 30 through 34. Leviticus 26, 30 through 34 reads, I shall destroy your high places and cut down your sun pillars, and put your carcasses on the carcasses of your idols, and my being shall loathe you. And I shall turn your cities into ruins, and lay your set-apart places waste, and not smell your sweet fragrances. I shall lay the land waste, and your enemies who dwell in it shall be astonished at it. And I shall scatter you among the nations, and draw out a sword after you. And your land shall be desert, and your cities ruins. And the land enjoy its Sabbaths as long as it lies waste. And you are in your enemy's land. Then the land would rest and enjoy its Sabbaths. My brothers and sisters, this was a punishment to Yashar'al. Punishment for rebellion. We were scattered, more unscattered, my brothers and sisters. Come with me to Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 9 through 14. Jeremiah 9 through 14 says, Would I not punish them for this, declares Yahuah? Would I not revenge myself on such a nation as this? I shall take up a weeping and wailing for the mountains, and for the pastures of the wilderness, a lamentation, because they have burned up without any passing over, nor has the voice of cattle been heard. Both the birds of the heavens and the beasts have fled, they have gone. And I shall make Jerusalem a heap of ruins, and a habitation for jackals, and the cities of Yehudah I shall make waste without an inhabitant. Who is the wise man that he understands this? And to whom has the mouth of Yahuah spoken that he declares it? Why has the land perished? Has it been burned up like a wilderness with none passing through? And Yahuah says, because they have forsaken my Torah, which I set before them, and I have not obeyed before them, and have not obeyed my voice, nor walked according to it. But they have walked according to the stubbornness of their own heart, and after the Baals, which their fathers had taught them. False idols. My brothers and sisters, Yashar'al did things that brought about a scattering. But I will present to you where he talks about gathering Yashar'al in the final days. I will present to you, as I have done in the past, verses that talk about a final exodus. I will present to you and submit to you that there are verses that talk about Yahuah changes not. And I will submit to you the case, how, my brothers and sisters, there are things that happen in days of old, similar things that happen in days of old that will happen again in the coming days ahead. Time will prove such. The final exodus, gathering Yashar'al. Notice here in Isaiah 11:12, come with me to Isaiah 11:12, for it reads, and he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcasts of Yashar'al and assemble the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth. Do you know those who tell you to flee by plane or boat? Those who talk about, I'm taking my family, putting their family before the family of Yahuah. Those who consider their blood kin a priority more so than those who do the will of the Almighty Father, being a brother or sister. Do you think when they tell you just go in pockets, in small groups, do you think that that works towards assembling the dispersed, or is that making them more dispersed? Consider Isaiah 43, 4-8. For it reads, since you were precious in my eyes, you have been esteemed, and I have loved you, and I give men in your place and people for your life. Do not fear, for I am with you. I shall bring your seed from the east, gather you from the west. I shall say to the north, give them up. To the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar, my daughters from the ends of the earth. All those who are called by my name, whom I have created, formed, even made for my esteem. He shall bring out a blind people who have eyes, and deaf ones who have ears. It's a promise, my brothers and sisters. There are many verses where it talks about the Almighty Father gathering his flock, his children. What to expect? We will face life or death decisions. Some of us will be martyrs for Yahusha's name. We cannot we make attempts to sugarcoat it or to tell you everybody's going. We all are going. There are so many compromising teachings out there. And I want you to know, to you who are sincerely seeking to worship and obey the Almighty Father, he makes your cries known to your brothers. There are discerners. I have witnessed the cries of those who say, save me. Deliver me from this confusion and evil. And I believe the Spirit of Yahusha did it for me to discern and pray for you, for us. The Almighty Father is saying, I hear your cries, and I will provide all the necessary instructions to strengthen those who draw close to me. And I will discipline those who struggle trying to find obedience. And in that discipline, there are those among you who will rise up strong, refined, and perfected. I believe the Spirit of Yahuah is saying, warn the people. Warn the people. Believe this, my brothers and sisters. Tough decisions lie ahead. Why this message is critical, my brothers and sisters. This is why this message is critical. This is why it's a warning. If you fleeing out of order, out of step, how do you think you will fare in conditions I am about to read in Matthew 24, 3 through 13? Matthew 24, 3 through 13 reads, "And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, Say to us, when shall this be, and what is the signs of your coming and the end of the age? Yahusha answered and said to him, Take heed that no one leads you astray. That's another reason why we shouldn't follow a fractured flee doctrine. In other words, instruction that's not saying be prepared to flee. And they take in the literal text and say flee. It doesn't say at 12 o'clock. It doesn't say on the first day of the week. You see, the enemy wants us to believe that we can have a definitive day and time when the scriptures tell us, instruct us in Proverbs 4th chapter to be focused. Focus and let our feet be established. Come away from evil. So let no one lead you astray. He tells his taught ones, For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. Do you know that those who saying the Lord told them, Yah told them, and I'm just telling you what the word says, and do not tell you the whole matter? That's coming in Yahusha's name. That's coming trying to say that they have been given the word from the Almighty Father to tell you to flee. And if you fleeing out of one wicked nation into another wicked country, a country whose laws, there isn't a country on this planet, geographically speaking, that is shaped and operating under the Torah of Yahuah, under his living instructions, through his laws and statutes. But the promised land will be governed the way Yahuah wants it to be governed, under his laws and statutes, under his living orders and guidance. And that's where the assembled of Yashar'al will end up, between the Euphrates and the Great Nile from east to west, with a focal point being the set-apart mountain of Yahuah. The true set-apart Mount Sinai is commonly known as Jabal al-Lawz, and is situated in the northwest quadrant of what is now known as Saudi Arabia. And until most recently, they have begun to allow it to be opened up for tourist attraction. They are even making plans to have a majestic city in close proximity. Let me continue reading here, my brothers and sisters. The Messiah said, Many shall come in my name, saying, I'm the Messiah, and will lead many astray. You should begin to hear of fighting and reports of fighting. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food, deadly diseases, and earthquakes in places. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. It didn't say might, it will lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. This is why this message is critical. More on why this message is critical. No, there is a restrainer set apart, Yashar'al. While the enemy is trying to shape his one world government, while Mystery Babylon is gradually working towards that one world government, they cannot reach their fullness until the restrainers move. Hear these words. I've shared them before. It's not a first. Come with me to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 through 8. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1 through 8 reads, As to the coming of our Messiah, Yahusha Mashiach, and our gathering together to him, we ask you, brothers, not to become easily unsettled in mind or troubled, either by spirit or by word or by letter, as if from us, as if the day of Yahuwah has come. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first, and the man of lawlessness is to be revealed, and the son of destruction. You see, there's some things that's going to happen. Who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called the Almighty One, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as the Almighty One in the dwelling place of the Almighty One, showing himself that he is the Almighty One. Do not remember that I told you this while I was still with you. Many people are putting their stock and belief on a physical third temple in Israel, and that the anti-Mashiach will step in there to declare that he is the Messiah. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, though there were temples made for Yahuwah in times past, during these final hours, the Almighty Father is not concerned with temples made with hands, and it is written so in the scriptures. We are the temple of Yahuwah. We are the vessel, the heckle of Yahuwah. Individually and collectively, we represent the temple of Yahuwah. And in our being gathered from the four corners of the earth, we will be awaiting Yahusha's physical return with anticipation and excitement, witnessing the great tribulation, bringing about the discipline, the vengeance, and the wrath that has been promised by the Almighty Father. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, when the two witnesses of Revelation rise up from after being dead for 3.5 days, this is when the anti-Messiah will try to step in the camp, in the center point, in the camp of Yashar'al that have been gathered. And this is when the anti-Messiah will say, I'm the Messiah. I'm the one you've been waiting on. See these miracles and everything and power I got? And that's when Yahusha will return and wipe them out. Bring it all to an end. You see, what will happen is, upon our gathering, the one world government will see that they're still facing destruction, famine, pestilence, and disease. The one world government will see that their system doesn't work. And out of jealousy and envy, they will seek to march on the children of Yahuwah. And they will gather in the valley of Megiddo, as it is written in the scriptures. Many people look at that as the war of Armageddon. That's not what the scriptures say. It say they gathered in Megiddo, the valley of Megiddo. They gathered there to prepare their march towards the promised land where the children of Yashar'al is at. And it will come to naught. They will not reach our camps, for the physical return of Yahusha will come and put an end to all of that. It says, let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first. And the man of lawlessness is to be revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called the Almighty One, that is worshipped, so that he sits as the Almighty One in the dwelling place. It's not talking about this brick and mortar they're trying to recreate. It said, do you not remember I told you this while I was still with you? And now you know what restrains, what's holding him back, for him to be revealed in his time. For the secret of lawlessness is already at work, but only until he who now restrains come out of the midst. That's talking about set apart Yashar'al, that have been chosen by the Almighty Father to fulfill the final exodus. It say, and the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and bring to naught with the manifestation of his coming. The restrainer, my brothers and sisters. And soon and very soon, we will understand it's time to move. Division. There will be division. There's a set apart division. There's a wicked division. But I want to read to you the division that Yahusha brings and inform you that this is necessary in these final days. Matthew 10:34-39. 10:34-39 reads, "Do not think I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. And a man's enemy are those of his own households." Do you know that there are brothers and sisters talking about this flea doctrine? And some saying, I'm not going without my wife. Or the wife saying, I'm not going without my husband or child. And they putting their quote-unquote blood relatives above the children of Yahuah who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. Scriptures is informing us, some of us within our own household will witness enemies. "He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me." So if they're following after a wife, a husband, son or daughter, family member, they're not worthy of Yahuah. "He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it." Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Are we prepared to witness unity? What side will we be on, beauty or beast? We must make a decision, even when it comes to this flea doctrine. We must make a decision of who we will be with, how we will come together, what to expect. Here's beauty, something very beautiful. And I believe this will happen by the hand and power and might of the Almighty Father. Stay with me, Yashar'al, as I speak these words to you, my brother, my sister. Psalms 133, 1-3 reads as follows. "See how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity." Do you think we can dwell together in unity if we flee into 54 countries plus, scattered even more? It said like the precious oil on the head running down on the beard of Aharon, running down on the collar of his robe, like the dew of Hermon that comes down from the mountains of Sion. For there Yahuah commanded the blessing, life forever. That's beautiful, my brothers and sisters. Now the beast. What side would you be on? The side of beauty or the beast? Choose wisely. Listen wisely. Consider Revelation 13, verses 14-18. Revelation 13, 14-18 reads, "And he leads astray those dwelling on the earth because of those signs which he was given to do before the beast, saying to those dwelling on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword yet lived. And there was given to him to give spirit to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the image of the beast. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is the wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Are you a part of those in motion to worship and serve the beast? Remember Noah, my brothers and sisters. Noah got instructions, details, and there was a process put in place. And his family, along with the animals chosen by the Almighty Father, were gathered together, and then destruction came. And there are verses that say, like in the days of Noah and in the days of Lot. In the days of Lot, remember Lot? Lot was led out with his family out of Sodom and Gomorrah, with the exception of his son-in-laws who thought he was joking. So my brothers and sisters, the leading of those chosen by the Almighty Father will come as messengers, participate in this gathering, as chosen shepherds, as anointed leaders and guides rise up. My brothers and sisters, I want to take you to the Tower of Babel, and there's a reason, there's a point. The Tower of Babel was a time where Yahuah scattered and confused the language. It was a time when we had one language, and then as a result of rebellion, we were scattered and had different languages that brought confusion. Let me read it before I say more. Genesis 11, chapter, verses 4 through 9. Come with me. Genesis 11, chapter 4 through 9 reads, "And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the heavens, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over all the face of the earth. And Yahuah came down to see the city and tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahuah said, Look, they are one people. They all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language, so that they do not understand one another's speech. And Yahuah scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. That is why its name was called Babel, because there Yahuah confused language of all the earth, and from there Yahuah scattered them over the face of the earth." You see, there was a time of scattering, and I talked about it earlier in this message. And if a person is giving you the time to leave prematurely, out of step, especially saying just go to the continent in their way of quote unquote playing it safe, they are promoting scattering. They are rehashing what happens in rebellion, a scattering of Yashar'al. They are helping the enemy. Remember these words, my brothers and sisters. Beware of those who wickedly divide Yashar'al. Hear these words, my brother, my sister, my family. Matthew 12, 25 through 30. Matthew 12, chapter 12, verse 25 through 30. It says, "And Yahusha knew their thoughts, and said to them, Every reign divided against itself is laid waste, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." Do you know if you move to a country that's divided against itself, that country is not going to stand? Proof of our two-party system is crumbling here in the United States. Proof of two-party systems are crumbling throughout the world. Countries are divided in more ways and on many issues. There's an upheaval going on across the world, protests, fighting. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, it is written that any house, any nation, any reign divided against itself cannot stand. And the Mashiach is quoted in saying, "If Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then does his reign stand? And if I, by Beelzebub, do cast out demons, by whom do your sons cast them out? Because of this they shall be your judges. But if I cast out demons by the Spirit of the Almighty One, then the reign of the Almighty One has come upon you. Or how is one able to enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods, unless he first binds the strong man, and then he shall plunder his house? He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad." Let me read that again. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al. Are we gathering as led by the Spirit of Yahuah? Or are we blinded by someone's misuse of the text? Let us be mindful, my brothers and sisters, that if people see you hanging out or gathered with those who promote a fractured flee doctrine, they mark you as a supporter of wicked teachings, of this wicked teachings. Don't jump on someone's YouTube channel or Instagram or social media page or physically start to fellowship with someone who keep talking about flee and not saying, let us seek to discern the leadership, how to identify those who will be used to lead Yashar'al coming together. For I see this, O Yashar'al. I believe that the Almighty Father has revealed to me that Yashar'al will gradually come together, small groups growing into larger groups, growing into even larger groups, merging into even larger groups till we reach that destination, till we fulfill that great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues, as mentioned in the 7th chapter of Revelations, till we see the conclusion of the matter regarding 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Yashar'al. I believe, my brothers and sisters, that as we see nations crumble, governance fall apart, civil unrest rise up, famine, pestilence, disease, and other things that will humble man. Some will be humbled, but they will yield to the workings of the one world government. Our brothers and sisters that are set apart, that seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, will be humbled. We will become physically weak to rise up strong and physically strong in the spirit of obedience and worship to the living orders of the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, be careful of the groups you hang out with. For you have heard people say, there's one of them. He or she was with them. Be advised, my brothers and sisters. Good intentions do not equal righteous obedience. Consider what happened to Uzzah. And note that Uzzah's leader, David, was displeased at what happened. You see, my brothers and sisters, there was a breakdown in placing obedience as a priority. David, as the king of Uzzah, to a degree is held responsible for Uzzah's actions. Uzzah went to capture the ark because he knew the power of the ark and he thought it should not touch the ground, not praying to discern that instead of him grabbing a cart, he should have got the attention of brothers to say, we are supposed to be carrying this ark. It's not supposed to be on a cart. Search the scriptures. They bear witness of what I'm saying. But let me read 2 Samuel 6, 5 through 8. It says, David and all the house of Yashar'al was dancing before Yahuah with all instruments of fir, wood, and with lyres, and with harps, with tambourines, with sistrum, and with cymbals. Here, my brothers and sisters, they were happy because the ark had left Israel. The wicked ones had possession of it, thinking that they can control its power, or they would be beneficiaries of its power. And when they could not, they returned it back to Yashar'al on a cart. They put it on a cart with a donkey and pointed it in the direction of Yashar'al, and it found its way back in the arms of Yashar'al. And they were rejoicing. 6th verse, 2 Samuel 6 chapter, 6th verse. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah reached out towards the ark of the Almighty One and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. See, he took hold of it because the oxen stumbled. He reached out by himself. You see, these people think they can do things on their own. He thought he was doing the right thing. He didn't say to his brothers, let us grab the ark and carry it like we're supposed to, as it was ordered. He just jumped out with good intentions, but though he had good intentions, he was killed by the hand of the Almighty Father. For it says, he took hold of it, and the oxen stumbled, and the wrath of Yahuah burned against Uzzah, and the Almighty One struck him there for the fault, and he died there by the ark of the Almighty One. And David was displeased because Yahuah had broken out against Uzzah, and he called the name of the place Peretz Uzzah until this day. See, we can't just be jumping out there, stepping out there on our own, thinking we got it just because we have good intentions. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, Do not get caught with people who do not, nor are they interested in growing in unity. We need to be asking, how do we identify true leaders of Yashar'al? How do we identify the guides, the anointed, chosen ones of Yashar'al? How do we determine when to move? I submit to you, I believe I will be a contributing factor to Yashar'al coming together in the Western Hemisphere before crossing the ocean to the Promised Land. Picture this, O Yashar'al. Picture the world acknowledging who we are. As the plagues and the earthquakes, as the rivers turn to blood, as destruction and wars ramp up. Picture this. Getting closer to one another, moving from one city to the next in the direction of the east, towards the Western Hemisphere. I am compelled to believe that the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Virginia, will be the final gathering point, exit point, for a mass number of Yashar'al. Remember, Yahuah carries the scepter. Yahuah will produce leaders that will demonstrate the ignition of this final exodus that will happen sooner than you realize. My brothers and sisters, pray and watch. I've done a series called The Closing Scroll. I strongly encourage you to examine it thoroughly and look at the condition of the world, for the scroll is closing, and man will be forced back to the region where life began. The wicked one, the one world government, when they march in Megiddo and get ready to march against the camp of Yahuah, the remaining people that are alive will be in the region where life began. And the majority of the population on the planet will find themselves dead, destroyed, or, to the brother or sister caught in the middle of it, put to sleep into resurrection time. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, we must learn to identify those who are not interested in growing in unity, who don't know what it takes, who have not set expectations, who jump out there saying the Lord or Yahuah told them when he has not. You see, we can search the scriptures. We can pray, and it is highly possible to discern those who are lying on Almighty Father. Some will face correction and yield to it. Keep in mind, when we make a mistake, we repent and we press on. We rise up, cleansed by the blood of the Lamb. One brother asked me, since I said countdown 2023, and I said by December 21, 2023, he said, well, you know, if that doesn't happen, you're a false prophet. Let me tell you this, my brothers and sisters. There were a large number of factors that led me to say December 21, 2023, including our 400 years, the lining up of planets, and many other factors. I must go with the belief of what compels me and what is moving me and who is moving me. And I am compelled to believe, if and only if I am mistaken, I will repent. But I will not crawl in a hole ignoring the power of the blood of the Lamb. But I will speak with the boldness of the things not seen and that I believe will happen. And I know the flesh war against the spirit, so yes, we can stumble. But let us dive into the things that bring about confirmation. Look around, my brothers and sisters. Habitable places right now are shrinking. Populations are being displaced. As I speak, I see nothing but evidence and symptoms of proof of the gathering of Yashar'al. There will be diverse factors that will make you move if you are physically alive. Each of us will move. I made a great decision, well, a major decision, and I moved my family from the Midwest to the Commonwealth of Virginia. I was told this will occur over 40 years ago. and it came to be. Doorways were open. Opportunities flew open. My brothers and sisters, do not reason within your own mind how you believe this this flee doctrine is to come to be. Now, one pastor says to come out of her means just get away from the cities and move into a rural country and build community and be together. I believe that the Spirit of Yahuah orders that. But he does not stop there. He does not say build this community and then say, well, this is my land, I'm not going anywhere. No. But I believe the Almighty Father desires us to make moves to come closer to one another. For gradually in this final exodus, it will be made known to the world. We will be governed and we will yield under the governance of the instructions of the Almighty Father, according to his laws, his statutes, his commandments, according to the living leaders that he will use to guide, to manage his set-apart children, an awakening nation. Yashar'al, or set-apart Yashar'al. Have discussions regarding fleeing or coming out of her or coming away. It is important to discern the methods of which the Almighty Father Yahuah, who comes in the name of Yahusha, his word, know what methods he will use to gather his people. Please be advised, my brother, my sister, my family, when we lean on our own wisdom, that it is our literacy and comprehension, our understanding, the way we comprehend the scriptures that will differ greatly. This is why the scriptures say the letter kills, but the spirit makes alive. It is the spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, that makes things alive so that we'll understand how this flee, how this coming away will take shape. It is the Spirit of Yahuah that brings unity and contributes to making us whole, not being scattered even more so across a continent, my brothers and sisters. The time of the final exodus is approaching. Know what must be done regarding fleeing or coming out of her. It will require intermittent movement with each relocation spot bringing us closer to one another. Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. Look around. Evidence is being magnified as I speak. Do not be seduced into believing those who are unable to discern, but claim they can. Do not allow the size of the crowds who mistakenly promote leaving recklessly. Don't let the crowds mislead you. Be where you're supposed to be, in the right place, at the right time. Move as the Almighty Father directs, my brothers and sisters. Lest you find yourself in the state of regret, facing pain. Be advised, the workings of Abba Yahuah will be done in order. Consider these words in 1 Corinthians, my brothers and sisters. Come with me to 1 Corinthians 14th chapter, verses 36 through 40. 1 Corinthians 14, 36 through 40 says, and did the word of the Almighty One go out from you? Or did it reach only you? If anyone thinks himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge what I write to you, that they are a command of the master. And if anyone is ignorant, let him be ignorant. So then, brothers, earnestly seek to prophesy, and do not forbid speaking in tongues. Let all be done decently and in order. He's not talking about just speaking in tongues and in fellowship. He's talking about things being decent in order. Say, let all. Let all. Do not be deceived by these wicked mores and teachers who try to tell you, well, the Hebrew means this. The modern Hebrew that they push is Aramaic. That is not the pure lip. And they may try to break down and say this, let all be done decent in order, saying you got to read from the first verse to the last verse of the whole book to understand what it's saying. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, do you think we've come this far by an Almighty One's hand without having some order, some decency, for righteousness and set apartness to have survived and still survive? Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, as I gradually come to an end, I say this to you, and I cannot stress it enough. Discern. Know what to do when faced with those who demonstrate a fractured flee doctrine. Let us choose our positions wisely. Let us come together wisely, O Yashar'al. Let us make known our differences so that we can discern what needs to be done to bring about correction. Yashar'al, my family, my brothers, my sisters, there are those who are truly our brothers and sisters. They just stumbling. They're just supporting a false flee doctrine because they have not said the whole matter. They have not described how it would come together. Some helping the enemy and don't know it. Some will recognize that they are and be disciplined, refined, and rise up stronger than ever before. But some will not. And those are they who will fight their position and their stance to the very end. Can you discern who those individuals will be? Pray and watch, but prepare to say goodbye to the obstacles, because if they are indeed an obstacle for fulfilling the final exodus, the true fleeing and coming together, the gathering and assembling of a set-apart nation, they will be removed if they do not yield to correction, or they will be left behind and find themselves in the face of destruction. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, this message is indeed a warning. Beware of fractured flee doctrine. Make your decisions wisely. Seek wise, set-apart counsel. Seek to learn how to identify those who are truly led by the Almighty Father to contribute towards the gathering of a set-apart nation. Yashar'al, I cannot stress it enough. Beware. Seek to discern true set-apart guides. My brothers and sisters, there will be a time where we will move. My brothers and sisters, whether we call it flee or come away, movement is coming. And there are those who have moved untimely, who are facing regret. Some have disappeared and we do not know where they are. There are some brothers that have went to the continent facing hardships as they see that they don't have the so-called rights that they had in the States. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, don't make mistakes. Don't expense the resources that you have right now to go to the continent because of unwise instructions or someone point to you to a scripture or two or three or four. But they leave out where Yahuah said he will gather his people together as a flock, as a set-apart nation, as a family from the four corners of the earth. Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. There's so much more to come, so many details and processes that will become clear to the discerning in obedience. Discover ways to get connected or involved. My brother, my sister, my family. I will say this, if you have listened to this to the very end, I salute you. I praise the Almighty Father Yahuah for those who seek to discern individuals that are being used by him and discern that the presence of Yahuah has visited them through one brother to the next, from one sister to the next. I pray more than anything that we're able to discern the true spirit, the living voice of the Almighty Yahuah that comes to us in the name of Yahusha, as written in John 14:26, our comforter, our teacher. Be encouraged, Yashar'al. Soon and very soon, answers will come. Evidence will come. Stay tuned. There will be more to come. As I yet breathe, I will present the things I am compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation consisting of Hebrews and Gentiles made one by Yahusha. Even as the 12 tribes emerge and fulfill what's written in Revelation 7 chapter, ultimately the banner will be the banner of Yashar'al, all those who are drawn by the Almighty Father. On that note, I leave you with much shalom, my brothers and sisters, and encouragement. Shalom.